From Swoop, it's Take the Plunge, a podcast about how business owners decided to stop what they were doing and took the plunge to start their own business. We take a look at how they came to that decision and what those first crucial steps were in getting their business up and running. My name's Kieran and I'll be your host for this episode. Here's what you can expect on today's episode.
We were able to build out the designs of what we wanted it to be, so almost making a prototype that we could then bring to our developers, and that had already set us going.
Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Ben Barter, co-founder of Skin. Skin aims to create a marketplace where people will honestly compare and review products they buy. Above all, people should better understand what they're putting on their skin, where it came from, and how it will help, if at all. You're very, very welcome, Ben. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me, Kieran. Yeah, very well, thank you. Great to be on here. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing very good myself. Well, I suppose like everyone on this podcast, we always like to start from the very beginning. So, Ben, what were you doing before starting up Skin, and why did you just decide to stop doing that and take the plunge to start Skin?
Before everything happened with COVID, I was working in international events, B2B international events. So, as you can imagine, March 2020, that all completely shut down, and we were all placed on furlough, the whole company, and that gave me a lot of time to think about what I wanted to do next. I'd been there quite a while, been there 5 years, and had been feeling quite ready for a change, to be honest. And I'm not so good at just doing nothing. So furlough was a perfect opportunity to have a think about things. And my co-founder, Flinty, we were working together at the same events company. So we were talking about some ideas, and she told me about the idea for Skin. And as soon as I heard it, I just thought, that's great. That's awesome. That could be a game changer. And we just went from there, really. After a month of looking into it, doing our proper research, we decided, yeah, let's go for it.
And from kind of doing the research and getting the initial idea, at what point did you feel actually there's definitely a business in this?
I think when Flinty first described what her idea was, it sounded amazing. But my gut instinct was there must be something out there that does a similar thing. That this sounds a bit too good to be true. And after lots and lots of research, it just appeared that there wasn't. And I think the size of the market speaks for itself. The importance of social media is ever increasing. So really, in terms of whether there was an opportunity or not, that was fairly straightforward once we found out that there weren't, any players in a similar space.
And I suppose, yeah, once you kind of researched it, felt that you've got some good first mover advantage here, what were the kind of next steps you took? Was it looking to see how you could start to build the platform straight away, identify the right talent that you could find to make it happen?
So the place that we started first was looking to find some developers to build the technology. Neither Flinty nor myself are technical, unfortunately, as much as I'd love to be able to code in this day and age. But yeah, so we went about that, and we found someone who was very helpful. He's now our technical consultant, who really guided us through that process and told us what to look for, how much money we could expect to spend with an agency. And we ended up settling on a great agency that we're working now called Arch, who are based up in Newcastle, and they're doing a fantastic job. But that was really the first step that we made. And that whole process was quite a long one, I guess. And there was a lot of learning to do whilst we were doing that.
Yeah, because it's a really interesting step, because for many founders, early stage founders that have a really good idea, often the next step is to build something usually technical, and often, like yourselves, didn't have a technical co-founder. And many people have been scarred on countless occasions of their first experience with developer or first experience with design. Do you feel getting someone with technical consultation experience allowed you to have a much more smooth transition? As you say, you should be paying for external outsourcing in this ballpark region. This is how you should prep the work. Was that the help your kind of technical consultant was giving you?
Yeah, I think that helped massively. It just, because Flinty and I, we had no idea how long it would take to build this thing, first and foremost, but also, as you say, a ballpark figure of how much we should spend. So I think the first agency that we spoke to was based in the US, and they said that they could build the app for us in 2 to 4 weeks, and it would cost us 6 grand. And if we
Pretty
hadn't had
pretty
that
pretty
advice
magical
before,
numbers.
yeah, exactly. And we would think, well, we've already got the money for that. That's great. And of course, like that was never ever going to happen. And the next person that we spoke to was kind of 300 grand. So we needed to settle on something that was in between, and that's where Josh, our technical consultant, was really really useful because he he allowed us to be realistic in what we could hope to spend rather than just saying let's take a punt on this guy that's claiming he can do it for 6 grand.
Some probably wise words from Josh there, no doubt. And in terms of kind of getting your idea on canvas, so to speak, how was that kind of experience like you? Because I'd imagine yourself and Flinty probably had really good ideas in terms of if I went into the iOS store, if I went into the Android store, this is what I would expect to see. But often, if you're not coming from, say, a product or technical background, how you articulate that to an agency or a developer can be an interesting exercise to go through. How did you find that experience?
So again, this is where the kind of technical knowledge comes in handy as well. So we were put onto a platform called I actually can't remember the name. It's Sketch. Sketch is the name
Sketch,
of it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And yeah, and so we were able to build out the designs of what we wanted it to be. So almost making a prototype that we could then bring to our developers, and that had already set us going. So firstly, that saved us a bit of money in terms of design because the foundations were already there, but also we could bring to them a clear idea of what we wanted it to look like and how we wanted it to work, and that made the initial kind of discovery session really really easy.
As you were kind of, I suppose, mocking out the app and setting the agency on its ways, were you guys then splitting your roles out in terms of getting ready for launch as two co-founders, or were you kind of working together as a team on everything?
So at the beginning, we wanted to be there when we were building out the really in the the really basic functionality of the app and putting those foundations in place. So we worked on that quite closely together. And then as time went on, Flinty took a more of a product role. So she would understand what the users want, she would get the feedback in, and she would work closely with our developers. And I was looking more towards the strategy, the fundraising that we were going to have to do, and building out that business plan as well.
In terms of kind of that customer research piece, I'd imagine that was pretty crucial. Did you guys have a kind of a clear idea of who your kind of core customer is as of today or back then? And were you able to pick people you knew, or did you randomly go out and identify kind of customers that you thought were going to be the type of people to use the product?
So we did a mix of a couple of things. Really, we didn't have the money to go out and get a lot of feedback from random people. So we did we did an initial survey with people that we knew and trying to extend that as far as we could go. So second, third degree connections, and got some really interesting feedback from those people. But then the key piece of feedback that we got was we went on to these Facebook groups with like real beauty fanatics on there,
Mm-hmm.
and we managed to do a post that got really well received, and loads of people wanted to give feedback, liking the idea. And it's the feedback from those people that we got that was really really great, because ultimately we want to build the app to as something that is there for everyone, whether you just want to
Mm-hmm.
save money on your beauty products or you want to be really actively engaged in the social side. But the key people to get at the start were the people that would want to make use of everything that's going to be on the app, from social to price comparison.
You touched on kind of your role in terms of looking at that fundraising element. How have you found that? Because I suppose going out, and I see you guys are looking at SEIS, early stage equity funding, as early stage founders, it can be a bit of a slog in that it takes a long time to ultimately sometimes close out a round, or have you found it to be an easy breezy experience?
I've never spoken to anyone who said fundraising has been easy. And that's been lucky, because I think you see so many people now, and it's sensible PR putting out there and saying I've raised this amount in like a week, and
Mm,
it's not true. The amount of
no,
time that goes into building that up. Yeah, I saw someone the other day saying he did it in 4 days, but
it's lying to you.
it's I know. And it's building out that, making your deck, building that business plan, like it takes such a long time before you're
Yeah.
even in a position where you could speak to investors. And then that whole process is really, really tough, especially at an early stage. We found that getting in front of the right people is really, really tricky. If you're looking
Mm.
for a VC, you can Google it. There are so many options out there. You've got pages and pages. Looking for an angel investor who wants to invest in your space at your stage is really tricky. So
Mm.
that has been a steep learning curve for us. We have successfully, we did a small round to start off with, and we successfully closed that. We're in the middle of our second round now, and that's going pretty well, but it does take much longer than you would hope or maybe expect.
Prior to, I suppose, even doing your first raise, had you had experience with raising or understanding kind of tax incentivized schemes like the SEIS scheme, or was this all kind of new to you first time round?
First time round, so yeah, lots to learn. Fortunately, had a few people who I knew who had been through the fundraising process, and they were really helpful. First of all, putting us onto the SEIS scheme, which we wouldn't have known about, but is absolutely crucial.
Mm.
And I would recommend anyone in the same position to just go and get advanced assurance straight away. It's the first thing they do. But yeah, we were very fresh to it, and we had a lot to learn.
No, it's a huge learning curve. I suppose I'm talking with such familiarity with SEIS, but if there are people listening who aren't familiar with it, as an early stage business in the UK, it's a no-brainer that you should be looking at SEIS within the first 2 years of commercial trading, because in essence, if you're an investor looking to invest in the business, you can immediately get 50% back on your investment. So if I was to give £10,000 to Skin today, I could get £5,000 back straight away from HMRC. And in the unlikely event that Skin didn't go too well, I could get a further 25% back. So as Ben said, the first kind of protocol, if you're looking at external equity finances, you should be getting your advanced assurance. I suppose going back to other aspects then, Ben, within getting Skin ready for launch. I see you guys have now done a successful pre-launch, and you're starting to get activity on the site. What has that been like? Has it been pretty exciting getting that live feedback on the product, having worked on it for so long over the last year?
I mean, it's been really great. To see people using it was really, really exciting. We've used this soft launch as a beta testing stage, really. So we've got 800 people on there, and we're getting really good feedback from them. And we're in the process of building version 2 based on that feedback. And I think when that version goes out, that will be the moment where it's really exciting. We're very proud of the product that we're putting out there, but this process has been really important for us, and we've seen some really encouraging signs. People are buying on the app, which you never know
What
if people are going to actually do that until
what
it
what was that?
launches.
What was that first sale like?
Oh, it was great. It was it was really, really satisfying just to see it working
Yeah.
before even considering that someone's bought it, that someone's gone onto your app and spent some money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think at the moment it's the most satisfying thing, and it's kind of the standard teething issues with any tech product is just to see it working for someone, without any issues, is really satisfying. And especially hearing that feedback from people, because what Flinty and I are seeing on a daily basis is not a functioning app necessarily. It is the next version that's about to be released that's not quite
Yeah.
ready, that's far from flawless. And hearing about people using the app that's out there and being happy with it is a really great feeling, and it reminds us that there is a good app out there. It's just not the one that we're testing at that point in time.
In terms of kind of like the feedback though you're getting on the live app, do you have software or analytics that's giving you this information, or is it anecdotally through reviews or customers buying on the platform itself?
It's a mix of things, really. You get some good analytics come through naturally, which is always interesting to read. But I think the best thing is actually going out to the people that are using it and getting the feedback from them, and having
Mm.
a bit of back and forth with them. And it's been really nice that people have been happy to give up their time. So many people have been happy to give up their time and actually talk through what they like about it, what they would improve, and that's been invaluable because we can get all these usage stats, but that only takes you so far because that just shows that people are using it. But we want to know what people like and what changes we could make to make someone use it more often
Hmm.
and do different things with it, engage with the social side more. And it's really great when you have a group of people who are happy to give such in-depth analysis of what they like about it.
And just touching on that kind of social aspect to it, obviously with the app being kind of marketplace driven and people obviously sharing their insights experience, so everything can become more personalized yourself when you're finding kind of product information out. How have you managed to kind of create that environment? Because often, yes, you can create obviously the technology that allows users to user generate content, input information, but often, particularly with early stage marketplaces, there's pulling behind the scenes, let's say, in terms of encouraging people to share, to talk, and how have you found the best way to kind of create a more happening marketplace, let's say?
So that's the thing that we've learned most about during this beta testing phase. So when we first put it out there was quite limited social interaction. We were trying to understand why. And we had some influencers have a look at it who were really wanting to post. And the first thing that they said was that they didn't really understand how they would go about the posting process. And it made us realize straight away, like, why are we trying to change something that's not broken? So why are we trying to be a bit different to how you post on Facebook or how you post on Instagram? We should just do it in a very similar way to them. And that definitely the first thing that we learned. And then getting further into it, we looked at what do people actually want to see, and people are naturally kind of doing things that could go on the social feed behind the scenes, and we just weren't putting that front and center necessarily. So when one of your connections reviews a product, it now goes onto the social feed to immediately create that. You might comment on it, ask a question, you get that back and forth all of a sudden. When anyone adds a product to their virtual shelf on the app, it goes onto the social feed, meaning that there are more ways to engage on the social side of things rather than just asking a question to a blank audience, for example.
Yeah, that makes a huge amount of sense. And I suppose one other element that you kind of mentioned there briefly was influencers. And obviously, as a B2C product, kind of social element app to it, it does lend itself quite well to, I suppose, influencer-based marketing. How big a role do you kind of foresee things like influencers or even micro influencers playing within skin in its kind of embryonic years?
I think that they're going to be hugely important, both for promotion, but also we want them to be using the app as well. Um,
Mm,
you know, there are so many influencers out there in this space, in the beauty space, that have got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of followers, and we want them to be posting on Skin as well as Instagram and other social channels. But for promotion, they're going to be hugely important. So many companies are using influencers now, and it's proven to be a really effective tool. We want to try and use them as more brand ambassadors
mm.
than just simply stopping and saying, "Here's, go and post about us once." We want to really engage them because we recognise that they're such an important part of what we're trying to do.
Mm. And in terms of kind of the stage you're at the moment, which is kind of, as you say, beta launch, have you tried much in the way of kind of paid media mini strategies to experiment what happens in terms of acquiring customers from different channels to see does it make a big difference to your numbers, or are you kind of still at that very much just slowly test it, get the response phase?
So we did a couple of tests, mainly because we wanted to have people that we weren't in any way connected with to be
Yeah.
on the app so that they could be beta testers. And that worked really well, actually. We used three influencers in total. One had a great level of engagement. Then, it went down to one who basically did nothing. And it was really interesting to see, even with those influencers, and then looking into how they post and what specifically they were posting about as to how effective they were. So the most
Mm.
effective being someone who was all beauty posting about us, whereas the least effective being more of a lifestyle poster, getting less engagement. And it just showed that we really want to hammer home the beauty side of things rather than falling into, potentially missing a trick by having someone too generic posting about us. We want at the start to get the fanatics on.
And in terms of kind of acquiring and getting the fanatics on, what is your kind of thinking as a kind of early stage business looking to build up a community around skin? Is it to work in a isolated geographic area, say a country or a region, or is it to take a kind of global approach from the get-go?
So we're only going to be in the UK to begin with. We want to be able to really market the app whenever we move into a different region. So
Hmm.
start to get up and running in the UK. The end goal is, of course, to be for skin to be available around the world, but we don't want to be spreading ourselves too thin at the start. So really focus on the UK, make that side of the app brilliant, and then get the users on board and start growing it from there.
And then talking a bit more on the growth stage, then you, as you say, you're part way through your second funding round. What is it that you're looking to do now in terms of executing on the funds when it closes? I suppose yourself and Flinty are naturally dovetailing into different areas in the business, probably wearing several hats. But where are the next roles, or where is the next strategy in terms of giving you that next level of growth for skin?
It's all around the marketing, really. The marketing is going to be absolutely crucial. And once we've finished our version 2 development and we're ready to have our official launch at the beginning of August, we want a budget to put behind that. And that's the main thing that this second round of fundraising is for. The other part of it is to continue to develop the app. What we will launch, we've still got so many ideas coming through. We've got about a list of about 200 different features or little tweaks that we want to make, and it's just about continuing that ongoing development as we go into our official launch and start to get people using it.
The backlog's not getting any smaller by the sounds of things.
No, it won't. And also, when we do our official launch, we're going to hopefully be inundated with feedback as well, which will
Yeah,
create a further backlog. But that's part and parcel, isn't it?
it is indeed. And I suppose, yeah, then looking kind of maybe a bit forward facing then from a skins perspective, having say, let's say closed out the round, where do you want to be as a business and as a founding team in 12 months' time?
In 12 months' time, I think we'd like to be well established in the UK, and we'd like to have moved into another region as well. And we'd like to have hired some people. I think start to grow the team, build out the team. Um, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the three main aims. I think we could get a solid user base in the UK. Be delighted with that. I'm really proud of it. But looking further and more ambitious, certainly, we've got the US on our radar, and if we're going to do any of that, we need to hire some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ben, I can't wish you any more luck for it. I think it's been brilliant just hearing your story so far. Really appreciate you just being so honest and open and talking about the various different stages you've gone through, from selecting an agency, considering how you're going to get it to market, how you're going to get some funds, the pain of raising said funds. But it sounds like you're in a really nice place where you've got live customers, people buying products. So it's in a very exciting stage for you guys. So yeah, wishing you all the luck for it, and thanks so much for kind of sharing the kind of growth story so far.
Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great.